Good afternoon, Namibia and the world, and welcome to another session here at the Government Information Center. I am your host for the afternoon, and my name is Shianua Desire Kahiha. And our topic for this afternoon, we're looking at the joint commemoration of the World Wetlands Day, International Day of Forests, and World Water Day for the year 2022. But before we get into those individual commemorations, what they stand for, and what they mean to us as a country, we would like to ask Dr. Esther Mwinyangwe to please give us the COVID update for that one will be for the 28th? 29th. Oh, yes, today is the 30th. Thank you. Yeah. For the 29th of March 2022. Thank you and welcome to our show once again, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kahia, the moderator. A very good afternoon to our panelists, as well as our viewers and listeners. I'm doing the update for the 29th of March, and we are announcing 17 positive cases from 797 results in the last 24 hours reporting cycle, representing 2.1% positivity ratio. Of these 16 are new cases and one is a reinfection. The sex distribution of the new cases is 9 males, of which 8 are new cases, and 8 females, which are all new cases. The age range is from 16 years to 62 years. The distribution of COVID-19 positive cases per region is as follows. Khomas, 7 new cases, and they are all from the Windhoek district. Erongo, 3 from Wolfish Bay district. Sambesi from Katima Mulilo, 3 are new cases and 1 is reinfection. So the total from Sambesi region is 4. Ohangwena, 2, 1 is from Engela, and the other 1 is from Enana. Karas is also reporting 1 new case from Lutherets. Among the confirmed cases, 3 are learners. We also report 3 healthcare workers and 1 teacher. 1 case is fully vaccinated, while 16 cases are not vaccinated. We are reporting 12 recoveries from 6 regions. Oshodonjupa has recorded 5 recoveries. Kavango East 3, Hartap, Omusati, Khomas, and Oshikoto has recorded 1 each. The number of active cases is 169. 9 cases are currently hospitalized in 4 regions. 1 hospitalized case is fully vaccinated, while 8 are not vaccinated, and that constitutes 88.9%. 1 case is in ICU, and that 1 case in ICU is not vaccinated. The hospitalization of confirmed cases per region is distributed as follows. Ohangwena 4, Sambesi 3, Khomas 1, Hartap 1, and Erongo previously had 1 hospitalized case, but now is 0. We are not reporting any death today. By 28 March 2022, a total of 442,094 people aged 18 years and older have received 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, representing 30% of the target population, which is 1,471,000 130,973. A total of 130,400 have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, while 252,207 adults have received 2 doses of other vaccine types. Hence, 382,610 adults have completed their vaccination, translating to 26% of the target population. A total of 128 individuals have received component 1 of Sputnik vaccine, and 76 have received component 2 of the same vaccine. Hence, a total of 204 doses of Sputnik were administered. 11,717 children aged 12 to 17 years have received 1 dose of the Pfizer vaccine, representing 4% of the target population, which is 307,298. Of these, 4,600 are fully vaccinated. Hence, the cumulative number of people vaccinated with the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine for both adults and children is 453,811, of which 387,207 are fully vaccinated. That translates to 22% of the total target population. 38,925 people have received a COVID-19 vaccine booster dose. Moving towards conclusion, the summary of the national update as of yesterday is as follows. Cumulative cases of COVID-19, including reinfections, are 159,737, of which 155,534 have recovered, giving us a recovery rate of 97.4%. Active cases are currently 169. Cumulative COVID-19 vaccine first dose, 453,811. Cumulative COVID-19 vaccine second dose, 256,807. Cumulative COVID-19 vaccine completed, 387,207. 3,689 people have died of COVID-19 deaths, while 330 people have died of COVID-19 related deaths. So which means that the total number of deaths up to now is 4,019. Total samples tested, 983,042. Active contacts, 65. The cumulative number of people who have been in quarantine facilities, 89,901, of which 89,783 people have been discharged from quarantine facilities, leaving us currently with 118 people in quarantine facilities. I thank you very much. That concludes the update for today.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that update. And as I say, that the numbers, they're still good. I think for a country that is coming out of a depth where we got big scares, the numbers are really promising.
Yes, but that does not mean that we are out of COVID-19.
Exactly.
It is still with us, and we still need to protect ourselves. Thank you very much.
But doctor, before you go, following up that statement that you just made, it's still with us. We still need to protect ourselves. Winter is definitely here. We can see the weather, and everything else, and it seems like this winter is going to be a very cold one. From the ministry side, are there any preparations that you have started making and putting in place in the case where we have a surge of infections? I know that we had a COVID ward at is it the Central Hospital at some point? We had one there. How are those preparations going, if any?
Thank you very much for that question. As you rightly said that the cases are really very low at the moment, and that winter is approaching, that is true. And I can recall that for the past weeks, we have been reporting cases below 10.
Yeah.
But today we see it's 17.
Exactly.
So that should say something to us.
Yeah.
Of course, we have been using this time also as a ministry to close whatever gap is there. And I'm happy to report that we have worked on our infrastructures, the issue of oxygen, and it's so good. Last week I was in Erongo region, and it's so good to hear that the COVID-19 facilities for the past month or two are empty without any patient.
Wow.
And that is the same in Windhoek as well.
That's very
And
good.
what you ask, we have the two fabricated facilities next to the maternity hospital, and also the Kadutura respiratory unit,
Yes.
which was usually the TB ward, but it has been repurposed to accommodate the COVID. So all these have been, quiet now and empty. So I think we are much, much better prepared this time around.
Okay.
And of course, our preparedness will also depend on how we as Namibians are behaving. Because I'm seeing people removing now their masks because they heard it's no longer mandatory. But we are saying that it is still raining, and if it is still raining, we still keep our umbrellas. So COVID is still with us.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And good afternoon to you. Getting back to the topic this afternoon, as we said, we are looking at joint commemorations of World Wetlands Day, the International Day of Forests, and the World Water Day for the year 2020. And my panelists this afternoon that are going to be going through this topic with us, we have Ms. Ndina Nashipili. She is the Deputy Director for Water Basin Management with the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform. Good afternoon, Ms. Nashipili. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon, madam.
And then we have Mr. Henry Mukendwa, pardon me. He is the Head of Planning and Water Resource Management with NAM Water. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Desire.
And last but never the least, we have Mr. Johnson Ndokosho, and he is the Director for the Directorate of Forestry with the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, Namibia.
We kick it off with the most simplest of questions. What is the significance of commemorating these days, and what are the various themes for this year's commemorations, and what do these themes mean? To the layman's Namibian who's walking on the street, what are they supposed, or how are they supposed to identify with the various themes? We can start with you, Mr. Ndokosho, and we move on.
Yeah, thank you, madam. The significance of commemorating this day certainly is to bring awareness to those very important days and the importance of the resources, be it water, be it wetlands, be it forests. Now, I'm going to focus mainly on the theme for the International Day of Forest,
Yes.
which is forest and sustainable production and consumption.
Okay.
What it means, sustainable production and consumption, is obviously the Sustainable Development Goal number 12, And it actually means that forests have a very important role to play in mitigating negative effects such as climate change. As you know that forest also absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The forests also play a very important role in providing habitats for our wildlife, food for our people, in their daily sustenance, of course. Forests provide us with wood. Forest is really a mainstay when it comes to building materials and all these things. So this is very much important to remember a day like this so that we create awareness on the importance that resources such as forests provide for us as human beings.
Okay. Ms. Nashipili?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Building on to what Johnson have just said, the days are commemorated to highlight not only the importance but also the pressures that these valuable resources are facing due to human activities. I will then give when these days have been commemorated. World Wetlands Day is commemorated every year on the 2nd of February. International Day of Forest on the 21st of March, and World Water Day on the 22nd of March.
Okay.
And the World Water Day this year we are commemorating under the theme, Groundwater, Making Invisible Visible. And this theme is specifically chosen to highlight the importance or the contribution of groundwater is making to the water supply, economies, and the environment in general. Groundwater is not visible. It's not like surface water that you can see.
Yeah.
It is buried underground, and most of the time it is forgotten. As they said, out of sight, out of mind. So World Wetlands Day is commemorated under the theme, Wetlands Actions for People and Nature. Just calling us to take actions to safeguard the wetland resources and promote their sustainable management and utilization.
Okay. No, thank you very much. Plainly said, clear, and it's actually quite true. It's not often at all that we ever think about other areas or sources through which we get our water. We always think about it's raining, okay, so we have water. And that's a good theme. It brings attention to that. Mr. Mukendwa, Namibia is known as a semi-arid country. Semi-arid, dry country. What is the current status quo of water availability in our country?
Thank you very much. Namibia is known as a dry country, and probably the most dry country in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yes.
And for those in the industry, they are very much aware that we receive very low rainfall. The highest probably about 600 millimeters per annum in the northeastern regions.
Yeah.
And it declines maybe to below 50 millimeters per annum as you go towards Siwafis Bay and the rest of the western coast. So yes, Namibia is really a very dry country compared, for instance, relative to our neighbors like Angola, who would receive maybe 2 or more than twice our maximum in the northeastern areas, South Africa and Lesotho.
Yeah.
They receive in the excess of more than 1,200 millimeters, while our maximum is just 600.
Wow.
And the rest of the country is hovering around 3 millimeters per annum, and therefore sometimes very difficult even just to sustain agriculture, to sustain animal husbandry, and to sustain even domestic demand that the country has. So yes, for that reason we have developed measures, and the status of resources at the moment is quite good. You might You might remember that we received quite a bit of good rains last year, and we have received good rains also this year. So our dams, especially in the central area, are quite good, around 90%.
Okay.
Our eastern dams towards Hobabis is where you might have issues that are hovering around 40%. Our dams in the south also doing very, very well. We have our major aquifers in the so-called karst area, Grootfontein, Otavi area, doing very, 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 very well. If you look at water levels below ground of about 70, 100 meters, now our groundwater levels are sitting around 30, so we more or less have a full system as we speak. Yeah. The security of water in the south through the Orange River is secured with our agreements with South Africa in terms of releasing to our demand, and in the north with Angola, we have also security there in our bilateral agreements in them releasing from their side to secure our supply at Kalweke, and therefore at the moment we should be relatively well. Here where we have got the highest demand in the central area, we probably have 2 to 3 years coverage even if it doesn't rain.
Okay.
So we should be doing very well at the moment. Not to say that but
Should
we
be
are
careless
we are a
about it,
dry
yeah.
country, yes. We are a
Yeah.
dry country.
Okay. Let me stay with you on that one. You mentioned about our dams with regards to our eastern parts of our countries, averaging at around plus minus 40%. That brings a question now to a Namibian person on the ground, because they are now sitting with the recollections of the areas of Hobabis, Enoshinene. The vast majority of our Maheke region had incidences of, for lack of a better word, flooding and high rainfall. What could then be creating that contrast?
Central to the balance between supply and demand desire is the issue of storage.
Okay.
Yeah, and in that area, our storage is mainly in Hobabis. The rest of the areas are depending very much on the groundwater storage facility.
Okay.
And therefore, on the groundwater side, we shouldn't be very much threatened in that side of the country, because it has rained and the aquifers have recharged. Okay. On the surface water side, the inflows were not very good, especially in Hobabis. That's where we are sitting with the 40% or more or less.
Yeah.
But we do have backup systems, especially in Hobabis with the 2-3 well fields. Should we run into trouble, to back up Hobabis as the commercial center of that area.
Okay. So it's just to create clarity that sometimes a dam might not necessarily be where we expect it to be, but there are other sources, like Ms. Nashipili highlighted, our underwater systems, our underground systems, pardon me, are usually not seen, but they play a big role in helping us to sustain the water supply. Sure. Staying with Ms. Nashipili, the commemorative days, each year it takes place. Each country is encouraged to undertake, whether local, national, or international efforts, to organize awareness activities. What are the activities that we have seen, or maybe will continue to see for the rest of the week, with regards to the commemoration of these days?
Thank you very much, Desire. Namibia will commemorate the 3 days in a joint commemoration, which is in the form of a National Water Week, which started on Monday this week, the 28th of March, where we had a program specifically dedicated to our young water professionals that took place at the Frango Namibian Cultural Center, where we've invited the youth to come and present the findings of their research, either for academic purposes or work-related. It was a quite interesting program. We had quite of interesting findings and recommendations, And also the engagement between the youth was really encouraging. So I can safely say our water and the environment is in the safe hand of the Namibian youth. Then yesterday, the Tuesday of the 29th of March, we had an exhibition at Namibia University of Science and Technology, where we had industries and organizing partners showcasing their water strategies or devices that they have employed in their different industries to manage the water resources and related environment or natural resources. Then tomorrow, the 31st of March, we are going to host the school learners from 6 learners around Windhoek, together with our students from UNAM and Namibia University of Science and Technology in a form of educational tours, just to educate them on various aspects and topics related to wetlands, water, and forest. We are going to take these learners to the National Botanical Research Institute, or well known as National Botanical Garden in Windhoek, for them to appreciate the plant species diversities, their uses and contribution to the ecosystem. We are also going to take another group to the Windhoek Managed Aquifer Recharge boreholes, where they are going to learn about the water challenges, water supply challenges that the city faces, and what measures are put in place to try and avert the situation.
Okay.
And then we'll conclude the National Water Week with a formal event that is taking place on Friday, the 1st of April, at Safari Hotel from 10 to 1 o'clock, where we are going to be addressed by our Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Water and Land Reform.
Okay, okay. Nice. That's a whole week of full-packed activities. You mentioned something with regards to the Monday activity that you had, and that was the youth presenting their researches and so on. From your personal experience, having gone through these researches, what is one of those or a few of those that stood out to you?
If I can recall, there was the way or the RFI research that we conducted to identify sources of pollution or pollution threats to the water, the groundwater sources around Windhoek, as well as around Groot, also within Commerce.
Okay.
So, in all of this, they point to human activities as possible sources for the contamination of the groundwater sources. And this just highlights the need for us to educate our public with regards to the human activities that places our water resources at risk of being contaminated.
Okay, okay. That's good. Human existence with nature, we seem to be culprits many a times to bringing destruction to nature. So I think our awareness should play a big role in changing our behaviors. Water, forestry, these are always topics that are of interest. And we always say that our show here is about having conversations with you, the Namibian, where we allow you to add your voice to the conversation, where we allow you a platform where you can ask questions if you have any, as it's also an educative platform. So you are welcome to join us. Our call line is 061, that's the area code. The number in the studio is 400-397, 400-397. You can also drop us comments, questions on our social media platforms through which we are live streaming currently. And on Facebook, you can find us at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, the Republic of Namibia, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That's on Facebook. And on YouTube, our handle there is MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia. That's on YouTube. To continue the conversation in the studio here, we would like to ask Mr. Ndokosho, the global area of forests has been shrinking in the last decades. Today, there's about roughly only 25% of total material. Today, only 25% of total material demand is met by biomass, including wood. What measures are in place to mitigate the disappearance of these very precious resources?
Thank you for that question. Definitely, the forest and woodland resources are being depleted. because of the unsustainable way we are utilizing these resources, of course, along with deforestation. And in Namibia in particular, we are doing everything possible to try to save our forest. We are involving community to come up with what we call community forests, for example, where certain areas are earmarked for management under community, and the communities are able to come up with management plans on how to sustainably utilize the resources within those areas. That is one way to safeguard the forest from abuse, of course,
Yeah.
because we then look at how much resources are out there and the permits that are issued, whether it's for permits for own use, such as wood and so on, is really dependent on the available resources. We are also doing steps to come up with what we call state forest reserves. These state forest reserves are forests in areas where we do not allow any utilization of those resources. So the forest reserves are protected and no harvesting is taking place. In other words, there's no consumption of those forests. But we are also educating and raising awareness to the general public, to the community, to plant more trees. Because when you are utilizing these resources, they are not, being replaced at the level that you are utilizing them. Then you are bound to fall into problem, as you say, it's disappearing.
Yeah.
So what we are doing really is to encourage tree planting so that we restore some of the degraded forests. And there are many other efforts that we are doing. Those are just to mention a few.
Okay, now we sit here commemorating Water Day, we sit here commemorating Forest Day. You mentioned the replanting in an effort to replenish our forests. Then somebody on the street will tell you, but you keep saying we have a water problem. How do I replenish without water? So, what do you say to somebody who asks or poses that question?
No, thank you. It's a valid question, but the way we encourage is that the timing of planting is very important. If you plant your trees during the rainy season, then you are guaranteed that they will establish from the rain, and then you can just water them later when it's a bit dry. Of course, it gets very dry in Namibia in the summer. But also, one can make use of what we call brackish water. Now, in other words, you can recycle some of the water, whether it's for washing your clothes, and then you put it on the tree instead of just throwing it away. So that's other way to do it. And I'm sure there are other methods that are out there. Rainwater harvesting is one where you harvest water so that you can store the water and use it later when it's required. So, but what is critical here is that we need trees and we need forest. They provide us with oxygen. They provide us with a lot of what we call ecosystem services.
Yes.
So we need now to make sure that these resources are there, and because they help us to sustain our lives.
Yes,
so we need
very
each
much.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, staying with you, Mr. Ndokosho, is there particular trees that you advise people to plant to try and create this balance? For example, what do they call it? There's a name for it, I think.
Indigenous.
Is it indigenous trees? Like
we
dryness-resistant trees, if I can call them that.
yeah, the best trees, the best type of trees are those that occur naturally here, and those are the indigenous trees. But also people need nutrition, so we encourage them also to plant fruit trees and so on. But the indigenous trees are obviously adapted to the environment and they cope better, and therefore that's what we encourage people to do.
Okay. Mr. Mukendwa,
Yes.
what is the current statistics according to your institution's observation, your work on the ground, and so on. The current statistics of the population of the country that does not have access to potable water, and what are some of the measures that are being put in place to ensure that these challenges are mitigated?
Thank you very much, Desiree. Namibia has got a population of about maybe 2.3, 2.6 million at the moment, if you do projections.
Yeah.
And our current statistics shows that 95% of the urban population is got access to potable water, and then about 60 or so of the rural community does have access to water. So if you play around with the numbers, you would probably realize that we have got about 2 million or so that are covered, and maybe about 500,000 that might not be covered at the moment. Yes, and we're very happy in the sector in that government has been very helpful in terms of now providing in the space of funding, and we are expanding into these areas of need. As we speak, yes, we have got expansive programs to supply water both into the rural areas and into the urban areas where there is need.
Yeah.
And there is a program that is called water sector program. Yeah, that government is supporting and is creating space for us in terms of funding in that arena. So in the next 4 years or so, most of these programs are scheduled for 4 to 5 years. We should have significantly covered some of these areas where people don't have potable water, or access to potable water.
No, I think it's very pleasing to know that there are systems being put in place. We are honest with the fact that we do acknowledge that not everybody has the potable water, but it's also that acknowledgement that has action behind it, with measures being put in place. Thank you very much. Ms. Nashipili, the globe is evidently faced with effects of climate change, and Namibia definitely has is no exception at all. What are those possible challenges that us as a country might be facing currently that are directly connected to climate change? What are the foreseeable changes or challenges that could be coming if we don't take care or sort out these current ones that we have?
Yes, thank you very much, Desire, for the question. As you rightfully said, climate change has impact on Namibia. The climate change models have predictions have shown that the southern hemisphere will become drier and hotter, and that is where Namibia is located. And southern Africa will experience a period of prolonged droughts and also events of floods, which will be more devastating than we are already experiencing. And what does this mean to the water resources for a country which is already dry like Namibia?
Yeah.
Our water sources is mainly rain, and the rainfall in Namibia is, we all know, is already low. And with the impact of climate change, it will become even more lower and also more unpredictable. So meaning that our water resources will become more strained and more limited. And what actions can we take as a nation? As I said in the beginning, we need to safeguard our water resources, both surface from overexploitation as well as contamination. Because contaminated water it becomes of less use, or it becomes equal to no water because you can't use that contaminated for the intended purpose. So as a country, climate change will not do us much good, but will leave us worse off than we already are.
Okay. So I think based on what Ms. Nashipili is saying is, obviously the effect thereof is inevitable on us as a country.
Yes.
But it is dependent on what we choose to do now to try and prolong its extreme effects, if I can put it that way. Please, you are reminded that you can join this conversation. You are very much welcome to join this conversation. Water, forest, trees, food, it is all things that we need, especially like Mr. Ndakosha said, for sustainability as human beings. You're welcome to add your voice to the conversation. The line in the studio, area code 061, the number is 400397. 400397. You can also find us on our Facebook platform as well as on our YouTube platform. Facebook, we are at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. And YouTube, you can find us at the handle MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia. Join the conversation. Mr. Ndokosho, statistics show that there has been a high number of new products repeatedly emerging from forests, especially in the cosmetics sector and the medicinal fraternity. As a country, have we recorded any of these new discoveries, and from which areas of our forests, if I can put it that way, do we mostly see it, if any?
Yeah, thank you for that very important question. It's no doubt that traditional knowledge tells us that our ancestors used to get medicines and treatment of the assortment of ailments from forest resources, and but we have not recently discovered anything to that nature. I mean, of that magnitude right now in Namibia. However, there are non-timber resources such as devil's claw that the community in various community forests and various areas, conservancies, and so on, they go out and harvest this devil's claw and they sell it. And we are informed that those who buy it go to Europe and turn it into medicines for the assortment of ailments that then they bring back to us to buy as finished products. So we don't have the capacity to turn them into medicine right here, but they are being shipped out, and obviously they are being medicines are being produced from these resources.
But sorry to break you in there. You are now specifically speaking to something that is currently running, Devil's Claw, and I think I'm aware of, especially the South. I've had a lot of people from the South speaking of it. It's being shipped out. It is processed and sold back to us as a country as a finished product. What is the ministry doing to try and create some form of production line that starts in the country? Because obviously if it's taken out, it's sold, it's a resource that's taken out at a very low cost, if I can assume that. And it's brought back to us at a high cost. And so what is the ministry doing or trying to do with regards to researching, creating infrastructure, maybe acquiring the knowledge as a country to try and do the processing ourselves, and then we sell it as a finished product to the world? And also in line with that, are there any measures that a ministry has put in place, or I don't know, committees, protocols, policies, to try and ensure that our people, because obviously it sounds like small scale harvesters and so on, are not exploited?
Yeah, you might have heard, Desire, that Namibia is party to what they call Nagoya Protocol. This Nagoya Protocol ushered in a legislation on access and benefit sharing.
Okay.
And this is now basically that the genetic materials that the communities have been using for years, they can actually now start to benefit from these resources. And the center is being set up in the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. So a lot of work has gone into it.
Okay.
And really it's just to set up that and make sure that all the resources that are being shipped out of the country or exported, especially those natural resources, do benefit the people that manage them or that have taken care of them for centuries. So there's quite a lot of work that has gone into that, and we expect this particular institution or sender to be set up anytime soon.
Okay. So I guess they will be playing that
That
role
role.
or the spearheading of some of these things that we spoke about now.
Yes. The only challenge sometimes is that some of these resources are patented. You know, the
They're patent,
intellectual property rights is with somebody else.
Yeah.
In some of the resources, I'm not saying all of them.
Yeah.
But should that be the case, obviously, then the owner of the rights tend to have more say in that compared to where the resources is being found. But
Yeah.
in majority of cases, we expect communities to really reap benefit from this legislation.
Okay. As Namibians, we always have a saying, where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, surely if we are adamant about certain things, we can find ways in which we can work with these intellectual property owners, these people that have the patent rights, for them to come on board to work with us as a country to try and, bring these products, bring it back home, create the production line in the country. And I mean, at the end of the day, surely this can play a role in mitigating other problems such as unemployment, and also the contribution that it will bring an increase to the GDP, I believe. That's just a personal...
The spirit,
Yeah.
and we are determined to doing just that.
Yes. No, thank you. It's good. I mean, I think we should start really acting on the belief of a glass half full rather than a glass half empty. We need the spirit. Mr. Mukendwa, speaking or building on what we were saying now with Mr. Ndokosho, we are constantly encouraging expansion, innovation, industrialization to try and mitigate other problems that we have. But all of these things, or the majority thereof, requires water. Do we have the infrastructure currently to accommodate expansion with regards to things like industrialization? And a lot of these things are being done with the motivation of it being decentralized away from our central or main cities. But can our infrastructure carry such expansions and improvements and industrialization more specifically?
Once again, Desiree and the rest of the listeners, we do have infrastructure right now that has got capacity. And infrastructure in its nature is usually planned to carry, to have carrying capacity over a certain period. Yeah, you don't plan it indefinitely, otherwise you invest in the unknown.
Yeah.
So we do have certain periods that we use in the planning, but for now, our infrastructure is capable of carrying us.
Okay.
With bottlenecks obviously here and there, but we have got an expansory program that is going on at the moment nationally to expand water supply to cover the demand as it is revealing itself.
Yeah.
And that is happening in the south. Maybe you have seen the coming of Nakasau Dam.
Yes.
And that is happening at the western coast, as you probably have followed the development into the desalination of seawater.
Yes.
And as you might have also, as the public might have also followed, as we try to expand to get more water for the north at Kalueke
Yeah.
on our agreement with Angola, the development of Hangwena 2 aquifer, and expansion of the Oshakati treatment plants, expansion of the plants in Rundu and Katima Mlilo. So yes, we do have this infrastructure that is existing for the current demand, but we are also expanding in view of the envisaged demand as it is coming and revealing itself.
Okay.
What is important to that is that we are a cost recovery company.
Okay.
So we follow demand that has revealed itself,
Yeah. Yeah.
not the other way around.
Okay.
For us to remain in the principle of cost recovery as an institution.
Okay. Now that I have all three of you representing various institutions, I have a question, and it follows and speaks to what Mr. Mukendwa just spoke to right now. Infrastructure, we look at infrastructure, how do we call it? How did you say it now? That challenges or needs that have already presented themselves. Right?
Yes.
And very aware of the various infrastructure that you spoke of right now. Now the question comes down. Desalination plant. We know, we are aware of the issues that we had there. Going forward, are there some policies that the ministries are looking at to ensure that maybe we can have a greater say in the setting up of these plants so as to avoid the issues that come up with regards to ownership, operation, and thereforth? Then you look at an infrastructure such as the Nakartal Dam. Currently, we're standing with a situation where twice, if I'm not mistaken, we've had this dam close to full capacity, if not. Yet this water is not being used effectively to really meet, its purpose, if I could call it that for now. We've had situations where we had water plants in the north, for example, through the Kuvalai water something. Is it the Kuvalai? Yes, where we had people wanting to set up some forms of water rehabilitation and so on, yet these projects seem to always hang. I don't know, we are left with very little time. I don't know who wants to take the challenge of that question. We've got about 2 minutes.
All right. In terms of policies, I think government is very, very clear in terms of who is responsible for bulk water supply in Namibia.
Okay.
So that one is very clear,
Yeah.
and that's an act of parliament that created NAMWATER.
Yeah.
So that space is clear and closed in that NAMWATER is going to provide bulk water to the country, and therefore, whether it's at the coast in terms of desalination
Yeah.
or anywhere else where bulk water needs to be provided, I
Okay.
think that space is quite clear from a legislation point of view. In terms of investment into infrastructure, yes, we do have these delays that people might see, but we are busy working on them. And as I said, I'm happy at the moment in that government is playing now in the space of funding availability.
Okay.
Yeah, and sooner or later, as I've said, that in the timeline of 4 to 5 years, we might see some of these projects really commissioned by our leaders to save the nation.
Okay.
So that is ongoing, and sooner or later these projects will deliver.
Okay.
I think in a nutshell that is where we are.
Ms. Nashipili wanted to add something there. Sorry. Yes, quickly.
Yes, to add on to what Mr. Mukwenda have said, with regards to policies, yes, we have policies in place that are developed to ensure that these infrastructures, they are managed effectively, but we shouldn't forget the role that the policy unit at the Ministry of Finance is playing with regards to the ensuring that the investment that are needed for the water infrastructure are secured and also implemented in 50-50 benefits between the state and the private sectors.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Ndakosho, you want to add your
Well, I
final
was
word
just
there?
adding that with respect to water infrastructure in the country, government has a plan, and the plan is really to, whether it's a dam that is existing there, the plan is to develop the land around that so that
Okay.
the irrigation projects can take off.
Okay.
But I wanted to also add quickly on the forest, a benefit of forest that, we know also of marula juice that can be utilized to make, lotion, soaps, and the assortment of goods that can be utilized by our community. Thank you.
Okay, I know that the marula I'm quite familiar with. They've really been making strides, actually. I'm quite proud of
Yeah.
the production of marula. The drink, the oils,
Yes.
the oils that are being added to our cosmetics as well. Yes, I'm a lady. We stay on top of these things. We want to know how our own country's products are being added or utilized to our benefit, especially when it comes to the benefits health-wise. But with that said, we say thank you very much to our panelists for being part of us. Please do not give up the efforts of awareness and educating our Namibians. I believe with the efforts for this week's excursions, Mr. Mukenda, you will be part of them. I believe
Sure.
so. Yes, thank you very much. We do invite you to our session again. Tomorrow we will be having our colleagues from the Ministry of Justice, and we're looking into the divorce law. So please do make sure that you tune in tomorrow at 3 o'clock. But for now, from myself, Shianua Desire Kahiha, and my production crew, thank you. Bye-bye.